passing it.
Testing.
Testing. We are testing the Yeti
Ladies
mic.
and gentlemen.
Hello. We are now live.
Is this it?
Yeah.
We're doing it?
We're doing it.
We're doing it live.
Cool. Nice.
What's up, Christian?
Not much. What's up with you? I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks. Thank you for bringing me here.
Yeah, there are bugs. Lots of bugs
around. It's life. It's nature,
Yeah. Well,
How do you feel, man?
good. How do you feel?
Been exhausted. You and I and Steven, we just went on a fun adventure. Lots of hiking.
Nice.
Lots of good stuff. So.
Absolutely.
Feel good, though.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, super good. Yeah. We went to...
You're quite the adventurous person. And it's contagious.
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. People tell me that sometimes. And it's strange being told that because I meet people who are like, riding their bikes across the United States or something,
right.
And it's like when I look at those people, I'm like, oh man, I'm nothing compared to them, And it's such a strange.
Well, I mean, it's all relative. I think you're metaphysically adventurous.
Yeah.
In the way you look at the world.
Right.
And you kind of point forward and say, okay, sure, why not?
Right. Oh yeah. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, yes to everything we proposed. Anyway, here we are at Sketchy River, I believe it's called.
Nice.
Here in Ohio.
Double check that's still going.
Yeah, see if that's still.
Make sure that. Good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the thing that I've been telling everyone is the point of this podcast, even though it's called the Sketchy Van Podcast, and I'm interviewing artists and creative people, the goal of it is not to talk about technique. The goal of it is not to talk about how to paint more spheres or how to become a better sculptor.
How to get into the industry.
Yeah, how do I study anatomy? And it's like, those are fine questions to ask, but I think they're missing the point if you don't have a reason to paint. Or the thing that I've realized is that if you can figure out the why to doing art, the how becomes really easy,
Yeah.
It's like solving the problem of learning how to do concept art or head drawing or, figure drawing. That becomes that's a much easier problem to solve than the why of it. And the why can keep you doing it for 80 years.
Right. Because the instructions are all there.
Yeah.
Whether it's online instruction, schools, whatever. And people seem to be asking that question, like, how do I do that thing? And I'm also in a certain position of why. I've learned all these skills. I have the techniques. I have the experience. You good over there?
Yeah. Keep going.
But after certain successes in my life, I'm at the phase of, okay, why now?
Well, when I look at you, I mean, you're somebody who has a version of the dream in terms of you have a following, you have your own successful business you can live off of, and you have a lot of the things that when I talk to people that work in games, they're like, I wish I had the power to quit. I wish I had the power to do what I want. Right. And you're there, and it's not. I mean, it's great, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're very thankful for it.
Oh, for sure.
But there are, it's not like you're finished. It's not like you're suddenly finished on Aldoori. You're not entirely happy, I guess.
Well, and I don't think I don't know if I ever will be that happy that we're all chasing. Especially when it comes to art. But
right.
Yeah, exactly. It's what's the next chapter, and I think. The why question is the big letters in bold of why do art why do anything? It's like and why do digital art? So I've been in digital art for a long time. I'm very good at it. That's my reason because I'm good at it.
Right.
But now that it paid off, I think I'm considering just different mediums or options.
Like music, you play guitar, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I was talking to a painter about this. He's a fine art painter, and he was saying, he sells paintings for lots of money, and he was saying the happiest time in his life as an artist was as a student.
Yeah.
Because
I can see that.
He didn't have to worry about money, didn't have to worry about impressing people. He was identifying himself as a student, so he was okay doing bad art or bad art, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like having the pressure on it, even though you have gained this giant following and have had all the success, there's a pressure on it that doesn't let you allow to play as much.
Right. And to go back to being in the position of the child looking at the world with a sense of wonder,
Right.
and letting yourself be vulnerable to play in that place despite the risk. But I think being a professional, you've developed a sort of shield to keep yourself from doing that, because you develop a safe practice, consistent, reproducible,
Right.
and then it's miserable after a long time. And then the quest is the journey back to the child.
Yeah. Well, there's that famous Picasso quote. It's like,
Yeah.
it took me 5 years to paint like Rembrandt or Bouguereau, but then it took me my entire life to paint like a child.
Exactly.
And I think you could say, you could critique Picasso for a lot of things, but I think there's a truth there where the goal of art is to be completely free in what you're saying. And I found that art was quickly becoming something for me, at least when I was trying to do it professionally, something that was a place of anxiety and a place of fear, And I think that stemmed from me ultimately wanting to make money off of it, wanting success.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, just by the nature of you wanting to make money off art, you're wanting somebody to pay you for it, so you're looking for some sort of external validation. Which,
in a literal sense.
Yeah.
Because that's what money is. It's sort of like, hey, I approve of this, here's the money.
Right.
Which is fine, it's fine. But I think there's deeper experiences to be had, and I don't think it's very fulfilling or meaningful to just pursue money. And if you are very fulfilled with that, then by all means, great, good for you. I actually envy that. But I think there's more of this story to recast my tale as a person. But I mean, I think it's interesting that you're saying this. You worked a little bit in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Going for the concept art thing as a concept artist, right? Was that an internship?
Yeah, it was an internship.
Okay. And that's when you discovered you didn't really want to do that.
Yeah.
And then you came back, and you're surrounded by plenty of people, like, Stan Prokopenko and Scott Flanders. A lot of people are pros, but and a very comfortable nest, if you will.
Yeah.
But you decided to kind of do this whole van thing, drive across the country, experience discomfort,
Yeah, well, and it's strange. It's like I started to notice that I'm surrounded by some of the best teachers on the planet, at least the people that I define as some of the best teachers. And a lot of people also define them as some of the best teachers. It's like, and even though I'm surrounded by some of the best instructors that will hang out with me, I don't have to pay them. They'll just give me art advice for free.
So many people would kill for that.
No, but then it's like
not that you're taking for granted.
But but it's strange. It's like even when I have everything there in front of me, I still can't muster whatever inside myself to do it.
Right.
And I started to think. I mean, we've been talking about the $1 billion question.
Yes,
a lot recently.
I love that question.
It's like, would you be doing exactly what you're doing right now if you had $1 billion?
Right.
Would you paint exactly what you're painting if you had $1 billion?
Would you still be posting on Instagram 3 times a day if you had $1 billion?
And for a lot of that stuff, the answer is no.
Right.
It's like, if you had unlimited resources, the things in your life might change. And I started really thinking about that question where it's like, if I had $1 billion, would I do digital art? And the answer would probably be no.
Right.
Would I still paint? The answer might be no.
Okay. Yeah. See, it's a process of elimination, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then it's like, I don't really enjoy the social media stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice to get the validation, but it's such a temporary nice. Maybe it lasts a second or two.
Yeah.
And then a cycle starts again. But I think leaving home, on that 2-3 day trip that we just did, and I've gone on many trips before, traveled Asia, a little bit of Europe, and here and there. Your mind kind of resets, or I guess your mind stagnates if you're staying in one place too long, like inside a nest.
Right.
And it's comfortable, but it's also miserable.
Yeah.
But I think just going outside, just going to some place that's unfamiliar to the axioms that you're used to seeing. Right. The door's going to be okay, we're good.
I have a bungee cord in case it.
Okay. But it revitalizes like your vision, and you start seeing things again almost anew.
Well, and we've been talking a lot about the idea of vision specifically, where it's like the only thing you're really limited by is what you can see. It's like just I've been really trying to believe in myself the idea that you don't have to go that far to go on an adventure.
Yeah, it's like you proved that to us.
Yeah, it's like it's like I know a lot of people from Southern California who always say there's nothing to do here.
Oh my God, Yosemite's right there.
Well, everything is right there.
Yeah.
Hollywood or San Diego or...
What was that? That was the island off of Long Beach.
Catalina. Yeah, Catalina. Surfing, snowboarding, skydiving. Like you can go down a list of amazing things that you could do. And I was one of those kids at one point when I was like, 18.
Oh, I lived
18.
in LA for a decade, and I had that same view. It's like, what's there to do? There's In and Out.
Well, and it's like, but not really. I mean, like
right.
even, and I think that's everywhere. It's like there's an infinite amount of things to do pretty much everywhere on the planet,
Right.
And the thing that is stopping most people from actually going and doing those things, it's like people that are bored can go skydiving right now. Like given that they can afford it, it's like $300 to go skydiving about, and it's like,
or walk 10 miles in any direction.
Oh yeah, walk as far as you possibly can, and it's like, the thing that's stopping you from having that adventure isn't necessarily the fact that you can't do that. It's your ability to see that as something that's worth doing,
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like an Unreal Engine or some kind of Unity engine where it only renders the things that are in front of you that are close to you.
Yeah.
And that's the data that you're receiving.
Right.
And so, you have to turn that part of your brain on where it's like there's still more to explore.
Right.
And it's hard to escape the gravity of comfort. But once you do, I think that's where the dragon is sitting on the gold.
Well, I think part of this stuff is like, you actually can't help what you value. You can't actually help what you see,
Yeah.
And it's like, you were talking about this earlier. I don't know if somebody could pay you $100 million to stop painting.
Yeah, I wouldn't stop painting.
And it's like, but...
Like forever, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's like you can't ever paint again. And it's like, what does that mean? It's like there's something you get from painting that's literally priceless, And it's like, sure... sorry. I gotta keep restarting these. But yeah, no, like sure, like your life would be objectively better if you had 100 million, like safer, I guess is a better word.
More secure. Yeah.
And you could do a lot more things with $100 million, But there's something about like you could buy jet skis, you can get a private jet, you can, start, I don't know, like doing really, really big things, but
I don't want those things at all.
And it's
crazy.
It's strange.
Painting is more valuable and meaningful than those things.
Yeah, and it's like, what the heck? And it's like, you actually can't force yourself to start valuing different things.
Right.
It's like, going back to the idea that adventure is everywhere, again, it's not the lack of meaning that's in the world, it's the lack of our ability to see it, like the lack of vision, And that's the thing I've been trying to do with the van, is observing that like there's an incredible amount of meaning around me, and I will choose not to see it. I will choose to be kind of a maybe like spend too much time on my phone or spend too much time playing video games.
Which is also a valid part of the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Of existing.
Yeah, I think rest is very important, but then there's also balance.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes I overdo the balance. And,
right. And you find yourself on Reddit for hours.
Yeah, like 5 hours or something.
Oh my God.
I'm
glad I never figured out how to use Reddit.
Yeah, it's good. Well, it's like just, it's or Instagram is another good example.
Yeah.
It's like just, looking at likes and, looking at other people's, just like being in the machine of Instagram,
Yeah.
And, like observing that, it's like I can choose to go on this incredible hike or go surfing or do all this other stuff, and seeing that a lot of the time I choose not to do the thing that I believe, like I say is the
even though yeah.
Yeah, right.
Wild, isn't it? Like this river is like, what, 10 minutes from my home?
Yeah.
And I've been here twice.
Right, and it's like maybe there's like you can go speed boating here, you can go like tubing here and meet tons of people.
We're sitting right there and sketching,
Yeah, painting.
I always complain I have no good places to sketch except a coffee shop. And,
right. Well, and I think there is a reality where it's like certain places are less exciting than other places. Like New York City has more things to do than the middle of, Nevada or something.
You lived in New York, right?
Yeah.
How did you like it living there?
I loved it. Yeah, it was cool. Again, same thing. It's like it was like almost like sensory overload, there are too many things to do, and often I felt guilty about not taking advantage of it.
Interesting.
You know?
I like visiting there, but it's so overstimulating for me that I can't last more than a week. I could never live there.
Right.
Like I grew up in this kind of place, so
I would live there if I had a boatload of money, like $1 billion, and the ability to leave in winter, because when winter hit,
it's freezing there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah. What's up, Duck? He just nodded to me, I swear.
Nice.
That's a weird looking duck.
Yeah, I wonder if he was injured or something.
No, there's a whole bunch of them that look like that.
Yeah.
With red top.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and again, it's strange how, like, when I started looking at things that way, my depression and my anxiety stopped being the world's problem, and it started becoming my problem, because it's like, you know,
you're saying you're taking responsibility for the things happening to you.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, sometimes I'll be sad and I'll just like stay in bed for way longer than I probably should, and then when I look at that, it's like I could choose to do that, or I can go for a walk, you know, and it's almost like having faith that going for a walk, even though it's extremely simple, you know.
Right. But sometimes it's very hard to just get up to do that.
Well, and I think it takes like getting rid of your ego, because it's like, you know, it's like, unless I'm going for a 10-mile run, then it isn't worth it, you know.
Right.
And it's like sometimes going for a walk is a lot harder than going for a 10-mile run. You know?
Right, because how do you justify it? It's like, well, if it's not all, then all or nothing, you know.
Well, and it was strange. It was like, I've been doing that bike stuff for a little while now, and I did a San Diego to San Luis Obispo, and it was like 375 miles over a week.
Insane. Congratulations.
Well, but it's like right before I did that, I did a couple of, you know, training bike rides, and the first couple I did were like 10 miles or something, and those caused me way more anxiety going 10 miles than, you know,
10 miles
than like going 100 in a day, you know. And it's like there was something about, like, even though I know I had done similar level, I guess, biking feats, and not doing it for a while and then coming back to it so suddenly, it's still like that small thing caused a tremendous amount of anxiety, you know.
Interesting.
It's almost like I lost levels in a video game.
Yeah. You have to re-level up.
I lost my souls and
get your souls back.
Yeah.
Blood echoes.
Yeah.
Right, man. Okay, so life's been great. I'm glad you came out here, man.
Yeah.
You reached out. You're like, hey, I'm driving through.
Absolutely.
I'll be in Ohio. I'm like, okay, what's up, man?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the world is a lot bigger than we all think, and people can go and just like do whatever they want, in a sense where, like, if somebody is really stuck, if they feel like their career isn't going anywhere, or their relationship isn't going anywhere, or, you know, they're just helpless, there are things that you can do, you know.
Right.
And you don't have to suffer necessarily, you know.
Right.
And
assuming, you know, people develop the means to.
Yeah. Obviously, like, I'm in a privileged situation, but everyone at least has the ability to go for a walk, and everyone has the ability to like I don't have a ton of money right now, you know, and it's like a lot of the time I'm eating just like fast food, or you know, just like simple meals, and it's like totally worth it. It's I'm sure you've experienced this too, where it's like when you were in games earning a ton of money in that environment, it's like the food that you were eating every night didn't taste as good as like, you know, like a hamburger after a really long hike or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Totally. It's like when it becomes monotony, especially, you know.
Right. Like at Riot, they have a pork belly, like hunks of high quality pork belly and ice cream and all this amazing food you can eat all the time with no effort, you know.
Dang. It's all like, you know, paid for, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's in their cafeteria. Jeez, that's crazy.
100% paid for.
It's funny, like everyone I know personally who worked there, big names, you know, like Paul Kwan, Zeronis, Espen, like Scott Flanders, Ate Gallion, like they did the thing, then they left.
Yeah, well,
and get out of here.
Well, you'd expect it'd be like once you get there, you'd want to stay there for your entire career. But it's not the case. You get there, and it's like there are things about it that like it's like too comfortable. You know?
Right.
You know, and it's strange how you can be like too comfortable. You know, how it's like even though you are in this spot, you're like, you know, I'm sure you're having moments of like, what do I do next? You know.
Yeah, and it's more exciting that way if it's the whole I don't know what I'm gonna do next kind of thing. Because if everything's scheduled for me, it's kind of boring. But the thrill of like, oh crap, I actually don't know what my next project is. Yeah. And you have to kind of invent it from the ground up, and that's when I think creativity starts to kick in, because then no one's telling you what to do. And
well, I was talking to a friend about this, where we were talking about how, you know, his girlfriend is a nurse and stuff, and we were talking about how, oh yeah, she has a harder job. You know, she has to be on her feet all day and all. But I was like, no, he's a painter. I was like, no, you have a way harder job.
Okay.
You know, he sells oil paintings.
There's got to be a way to override that thing.
Oh, it died. Can't override the battery.
Oh, I thought it was the
Give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the process of the Sketchy van is that
flies included.
Yeah. We're being swarmed with flies right now. But yeah, no, what I was saying is, he has a much harder job in my eyes, because even though, you know, she's on her feet all day, she's dealing with people's health problems and stuff, all of her problems and the things she's dealing with work are completely outside herself. She can turn off when she goes home. But with an artist, if you don't sell a painting, that's on you, you know? If your work isn't good enough, that's completely on you, you know? And that's a hard thing to face when, you know, it's like, the reason I couldn't pay rent this month is because I didn't do enough work, you know? Whereas when you're at a job and it's a lot more stable, it's like you can kind of like displace some of the responsibility onto your company, you know? It's like you're always being paid a paycheck even though you might not be carrying your own weight, you know? And I think that has a lot to, like that, you know, mindset of potentially like being in an environment where your success is completely on you is both extremely gratifying and extremely
high risk, high reward.
Yeah. Where, again, for you, it's like your ideas. That's the only thing you're sharing. You're sharing yourself. It's not like you're, you know, selling water or
it's so
food
personal
or something.
too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think one of my ideas I'm having now is to find a way to separate. You know, separate the ego and identity away from the art, because that part of me was always defensive, and that like I need to be safe with whatever I do. Yeah. Because I was, you know, at the same time silencing what could be, you know, something more authentic. Yeah. And I think authenticity is pretty important. And you know. Got the rowing team. That'd be a fun thing to join. Yeah. If I was going to be here for a while, I'd say we should join the rowing team together. That'd be so fun. That's we kayaked all day. That was tiring. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Something about your identity with art, and you know, it's trying to like not be tied to it as much. And that was probably going down somewhere. But I guess. Hey, how's it going? There are tons of flies. This is really annoying. Yeah. But, need one of those like little candles that. Oh yeah, I have the stove thing, but probably steer them away. But I guess the thing that I've been trying to do with art is like stop seeing it as such a precious thing. Yeah, you know? Yeah. It's like I'm not a painter. I'm just a person, right? Yeah. One concept I've been thinking about is that, you know, you have a lot of activities you could do throughout the day. Go for a walk, cook, I don't know, volunteer for something, or have a part-time job or something. And that art ideally, I think, is just another thing that your body does.
It's just like going to the gym or something,
Exactly.
or just like playing Scrabble, or
And the trap is that everything is about the art.
Yeah.
All day thinking about these flies multiplying.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
We're on location.
Yeah. Doing a lot. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's I think once you let go of the ego with art, I'm no longer an amazing artist. I am just a person who paints,
I would love to feel that. Because my ego tells me I'm the best in the world no matter what. And that's something I got to work on.
It's dangerous. And I remember I was talking to my friend Alec about this, where he was saying that Craig Mullins doesn't call himself an artist. He calls himself like the equivalent to a plumber.
Okay, I like that.
Or like an electrician, because you're just doing what you do.
Go through the motions, right.
And again, I was talking to Zapata about this, where...
Hate that guy.
Yep, like worst person on the planet. He was saying it's like, if you can give up the highs, you can also give up the lows,
Right.
And it's like, that's it sucks to give up the highs, but it's worth it to not have the lows.
And let's extrapolate what that means. And it's like, if I'm going to do a piece of art and I really want it to be good, and it becomes really good, and I post it, and the feedback is amazing, and it's uplifting, and the endorphins and dopamine is kicking off, and it feels good. That's the highs. And almost, a lot of artists are doing art for that.
Yeah,
I certainly was to an extent. But then the opposite can also happen, where it's like you want it to be the really amazing painting that you have in your mind and all that, but it's the experience is down here, because you feel like you failed that vision. It doesn't look as good as you want it to be, and if you release it, the feedback is just non-existent.
And no one cares, and you can see a visible value judgment based on how many likes it gets.
And so I think what you're suggesting, or what Steven's suggesting there, is that if you can give up that and that, you're somewhere in the middle, and all you're doing is just creating and expressing yourself, and breathing life into things that don't exist.
Yeah, well, and it's like we were talking about this earlier, where like I feel completely like the goal of art is to speak truth, fundamentally. It sounds corny, it's like a cliche, and the searching for likes isn't something that's sustainable. It's not something that actually is fulfilling. So in a sense, it's not true. It's not like you're seeking truth,
I see.
And I think that the more you can seek truth, and I guess it's kind of a cryptic thing, the more you can say things that you really believe in, the less you will need that stuff in order to feel validated in your artwork,
Right.
Like if you really do love painting figures, or you just love painting landscapes, you don't care about concept art at all, then maybe it's like it's okay for you to just paint landscapes,
right.
And that's more true to you than
exactly
trying to get a job or something.
Yeah. And ideally, that you discover what that is, and I don't know, as I envisioned that for myself, you realize how simple it was the whole time.
Yeah.
And we overcomplicated it for ourselves for understandable reasons that are prevalent in human nature, where we want to fit in, we want to make money, we want to climb on the social status ladder, blah blah blah. Understandable. But I think once you've exhausted all those reasons, and maybe you've reached them, maybe you haven't, but all that's left is like, well, if I was the last person who existed on the planet, would I still do art? I think I would. What would that art be? I don't know, obviously, because it's not.
It might look completely different.
Yeah.
It's like, it might be just like
cave paintings,
throat singing or something.
Sure, yeah.
It's like interpretive dance, And again, I think it's
it certainly won't be digital art for Instagram.
Well, but there's this purism with whether it's like I see it happening with concept art now, which is ironic, because concept art for a long time was this like the anti-establishment thing to do,
Right.
And now it's like I see a lot of parallels between like old atelier, like 1700s ateliers that didn't include everyone in concept art, and it's such a strange thing to observe, seeing this thing it was just about like doing cool ideas and making images about them, to just like this almost elitist
It really is. Yeah.
And I'm not bashing all people who do concept art. I'm just saying it's like
the impression that is there, that's exuded from like the art world, is a sort of elitist concept art, entertainment design thing.
Right.
And you have to be X, 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 and Y to be able to do it.
Right.
And that's why it feels like there's a bit of gatekeeping or something.
Yeah. Right. And it's like you have to, draw 1,000 Scoro car. Oh, here.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Camera, rudder?
Battery dead. Sketchy Van podcast.
Let's go, dude.
The reason we're not doing marshmallows, by the way, is because
can't have gelatin.
Yeah, he can't have gelatin.
No pork for me.
No pork.
If we had like vegan marshmallows or something.
Yeah. Nope. But and it's like I was talking to Scott Flanders about this, where I see a lot of parallels between religious experience and people studying art, where it's like people will travel to Brainstorm or Art Center or the Watts Atelier or wherever, in the same way people would go to Mecca or Jerusalem, or to see some great religious object,
a thing that is outside of themselves, that they perceive to be
transcendent of them, right?
Bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
I could see that with art for sure. It comes with its ups and downs, of course.
Yeah, well, and I think it's dangerous, like the whole hero worship thing, because the more you worship heroes, the less you're able to like seek truth for yourself. It's like
right.
The more you're looking at somebody in the art community that you really look up to, the less, like, I think that's actually really important for people to find their voice. But there's a certain point at which you actually have to stop doing that.
Oh, 100%.
Because you need to like start saying your own things,
Yeah, I mean, during my time as an art student at art school, because we're always art students, for me it was Craig Mullins and Ian McCaig. People would know that I was always talking about them. And it was severe hero worship in such a way that, like, when people said they didn't like that work, I'd be like, what's wrong with this person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you're clearly beneath me, something like that.
Right.
And as time goes by, and I've learned the craft, I could sort of do what those artists do.
Right.
Which I don't know if I even enjoy it, but then I met them in person.
Yeah.
And when you realize they're regular people, it kind of begins to fade. It's never immediate. It's a gradient for me. At least it was for me.
Right.
Because when I first met Ian McCaig, it was magnificent. He was very theatrical, and I was like starry-eyed, and I wanted to go home and draw immediately.
Right.
But after time, I realized I'm a completely different person than he is.
Yeah.
There was a moment at Lightbox where I realized I was just such a different person. We were. It was a final day, and they were closing shop, and he was standing there, and I was there with Jamila, and somebody wanted a picture with him and me and Jamila.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, and so we're standing there taking the picture. Ian's there, I'm there, Jamila, and I was actually his name was Ollie, and I look over to Ian, and I'm like, looking at the crowd ahead, and I know a lot of people are going to want pictures and autographs, and I go, good luck getting out of here. And he's like, furrowed his eyebrows. He's like, no, I love people. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, completely
you and
different. Well, again, going back to the $1 billion question, something that I realized is like, I actually was able to detach myself from being self-conscious about my art to a degree. I still am, but because I was like, I would look at somebody who's a way better painter or artist than I am, and it'd be like, even if I had $1 billion, I would not do what they do.
Yeah.
Even if I had complete freedom to say what I want to say, I wouldn't say exactly what they're saying.
And why would you? Like, you're, in a way, it's kind of morbid that you want to be in their skin,
Yeah. Well, and it's, I think it's kind of, I think everyone has, like, that serves a place in people's development.
Yeah, for sure. In a good way, yeah.
But again, I think my impression is that at least a lot of art teachers or artists in the industry are becoming so big that they transcend. Like, people are unable to detach the celebrity status of a lot of these people so much so that they only ever study those people, you know, and they stop being able to say they stop being able to say things, you know. They're saying,
what was that dojo quote you said the other day?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess sometimes you have to leave the dojo or something.
Yeah. Because if you're always studying under the same master.
Oh yeah. Well, in the art spirit, Robert Henri talks about the job of a student is to surpass the teacher, and surpassing the teacher can mean a lot more than just becoming a better draftsman than them.
Right.
It's like if you're at a dojo or something, it's like you can surpass a teacher by like, you know, saying things that appeal to different people, you know, but you could be teaching the same concepts, it just appeals in a different way, you know. That's surpassing them. It's not like becoming better at what they're saying specifically, you know.
Question on that regarding appeal. What are your thoughts on, you know, can art still be art if it's something you do just for yourself, or do you think the sharing with some other entity, do you think that's an important part of the art?
I absolutely. I mean, if you define what art is just communication. Like when a painting is just a communication of ideas.
What if it's between you and like another part of yourself?
I guess, I mean, you write in your journal, right?
For me, for sure.
That's creative, right? That's, you know, that's you talking with yourself. And we were talking about the split brain thing.
It's kind of where I was going with that.
Well, and it's like you're two different people. You know, you actually can't control yourself. And if you think you can control yourself, you're completely wrong.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. So arrogant of me.
No, but I'm talking about everyone.
No.
And it's like, that's, you know, you're simultaneously the person. Everyone is the person that can go on this crazy adventures. You can like do whatever you're best at, but then you also might struggle like with drugs or alcohol or eating too much ice cream, or you can't set the clock on your microwave. You know, It's like you're able to make beautiful images that no one else can do, but you can't like change your oil in your car. You know? And it's like, at a certain point, you are actually multiple different people. You know? Which is like it's like a strange thing to think about, but like people wake up like wanting one thing, and then by the end of the day or 10 minutes later they're wanting something else, you know.
And I guess the human condition in that regard is you have to accept the fact that you're not just one thing.
Yeah.
We all know like we can feel different ways throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and so you know, Monday, Tuesday I might be really inspired or, you know, have a vision to do this art project, and on Wednesday I just realize how silly it is, but on Thursday I'm like, no, it's good.
Yeah.
And then I'm off playing Bloodborne for a weekend, and I forget about the whole thing, and I have a new idea on Monday.
Well, and it's like again, it's strange. It's like you're simultaneously the person that could play Bloodborne for a weekend and also to like go to Japan by yourself.
Yeah, good times.
And but I don't know. I think part of the danger of tying your personality to just art is that you can lose your hands. You can lose the ability to see. You can lose art, you know. And
I haven't thought of that. I mean, it's so true, but yeah.
Well, Ian McKeag is blind in one eye.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and when I found that out, it made me have a lot more. I really respect him, but it made me admire him a lot more, because it's like, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, you know. At least when I found it out, I would have panicked. I would have like gone crazy, because so much of my identity, especially him, is tied to being an artist.
If your sense of security comes from that, I could see. Yeah. Letting go of that identity, because I mean it serves a purpose for a while.
Yeah.
And it secures your place in the world.
Well, and I think it's dangerous. Like, somebody might think that once they work on Star Wars or they get hired as a concept artist, then it'll be...
They did it, finally.
They did it. But, like, working on Star Wars is the same thing as working on... Like, in terms of the day-to-day actual things that you're doing, it's the same thing as working on your own projects or working on, like, the billionth mobile game, you know?
Yeah.
You're doing the same exact work.
Not to diminish anyone whose dream is to do that, you know.
Yeah.
Go for it, for sure. These flies.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
It's all good. It's part of the story.
Yeah, flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, it's like I think the people that win in art are the people that get the most joy out of painting, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if you can paint and draw, even if it's not good, and you love every second of it,
You've won.
You've won, yeah. And it's like you actually might. I was talking to Brian Mark Taylor about this, where a lot of the time the more naive art that's worse, technically, like worse, is more meaningful.
Oh yeah, just look at a child draw with a crayon. Yeah,
right.
They're having a blast. They're making worlds, but as we grow up, it's like, well, you got to fit in a certain group.
You have to make money. Yeah.
Concept artist, Vizda, storyboard artist.
Let's eat that bird.
Doggo.
But part of the problem with growing, I guess it's not a problem, is that you eventually have to start taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like there is actually a degree to where you have to
right, practicality.
Yeah, it's like sure, it's like it would be great if everyone didn't have to worry about money, but then there's a degree of like you actually have to eat,
Yeah.
And you have to give up part of yourself in order to do that,
Yeah, because a lot of the artistic ideals and meta view of things that we're talking about, it's like, well, you got to get the practical stuff out of the way first.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that even once you get the practical stuff out of the way, it's still hard.
Yeah,
it actually might be harder.
I think so. Yeah, because at least back when I needed to really work hard to make sure I could pay rent, it's a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
I was at least distracted by the fact that I needed the money.
Yeah.
Right. But once you're in a comfortable place financially, the distraction is gone, and now you have to fill it with a different purpose that isn't a fire underneath you.
Right.
And now you have to almost make an artificial fire, metaphorically, to say, well, I want to slay another dragon. What could it be? Could it be a graphic novel? Could it be a symphony? It could be anything.
Well, and the problem is hunger is a lot more of a compelling dragon than another graphic novel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, we were talking about this earlier, where maybe it's like you have thought about potentially working at Starbucks or something.
Thought about it, yeah.
And it's like, seriously, it's like you don't need the money. You could do whatever you want.
Right.
It's like it's not like you're super rich or anything, but it's like you have enough resources and you have this thing,
Yeah.
And people care about what you have to say. And it's like even then, it's like having that structure, that external structure, can help people do again, it's like it gives you something that is actually literally priceless,
Right. Like being around people, having a literal purpose of, making coffee. I actually thought about volunteering for some stuff or doing something where, there's a group effort, because then it's not about you anymore, not about me anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm missing in this whole equation. It's always been about me. Yeah, you good?
Well, and again, it's like I think that's the beauty of working on a big project, or it's like it's no longer about you. Like,
right.
The thing about concept art that I really do admire is that it's not about the concept art.
Right.
The concept art is in service
to the product.
Wait, again, this is slightly unrelated, but it's funny that people see concept art as the final product.
Oh yeah, that is funny.
It's kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
It's like
no, you're doing the blueprint, dude.
Yeah, you're doing a thing that's supporting a movie, or a cartoon, or like an ad or something. It's like the painting of it is to support like a bigger piece of artwork.
Yeah, it's a collaborative thing for sure.
And again, it is strange to me that people can even have an ego doing concept art, because it's in support of somebody else's vision a lot of the time.
Well, I'm the one who comes up with the best ideas.
I came up with Luke's 50th lightsaber. It's like cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I hope that I don't know that impression that concept art has. I hope it does die out soon.
Yeah.
And so that people can feel relieved to just do what they actually want to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad that something like, I don't know. I'm trying to like that like Resident Evil bikini volleyball game. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know. Oh, there's this like, I'm glad that can exist.
Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Beach volleyball. Yeah.
Well, that can exist, and so can Mario, and so can like Gears of War, and so can Star Wars, and so can like like the History Channel doing a documentary on George Washington, and so can you, and so can Proko, and so can everyone can exist and say things of value and still be able to put food on the table, you know? And it's strange to see, like, to observe that there's like Space Mountain can exist and so can everything else, you know? And it's like, to say that anyone that says that their voice is meaningless, I think they're really actually doing a disservice to themselves and society, because just the variety of things that can exist is pretty insane. You know, even just driving down the street, we pass like 3-4 coffee shops and restaurants and banks and people's houses, and they're all things that if we owned, we would be very happy to be part of, you know. And again, going back to the idea of like there's so much value in the world. It's just our ability to see the value, you know. Yeah. I think it starts from within. If someone thinks that their voice is worthless or meaningless, it has an origin to it. And I think where you come from in that conversation as well, at a certain point, you have to take up responsibility and address that, and then find meaning. But if we kind of have our excuses and like, oh, I was bullied in school, or this happened to me, therefore, you know, my family silenced me, clearly my voice is useless or pointless. Right. That's something that I truly believe each individual has the responsibility to work on themselves, journal, therapy, whatever it takes, to kind of just move those layers and see what's beneath. You know, it's painful. It's really painful. But the thing, I've been traveling all over the country and all over the world and talking to thousands of people, and the thing that I found is that you don't have to look far into anybody's life to find some horrible tragedy. You know, that person at Starbucks, like if we went to anywhere, a restaurant right now, and just talked to the waiter, it's like maybe their grandmother died last month, or maybe they were just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, or maybe there's somebody, you know, it'd be very hard to find somebody that's lived a very perfect life. And even the people that you would expect to be completely content, you know, people that, like, again, Ian McKegg is blind in one eye. Right. It's like, you know, for a lot of people, he's the ideal, but not really, because he's a vulnerable human being. And the point of that is more so like, I acknowledge that people's lives are hard, and people's lives are harder than mine, but at a certain point, you have to accept that you have free will, you know? You have to accept some amount of responsibility for, like, it sucks that your parents might have been mean to you, or you were bullied in school, or maybe your parents died, or maybe, you know, it's like, I'm so sorry that happened, but it's like up to you. Part of the sad thing about it is that it's completely up to you to figure that out, you know? And maybe you have people that can help you, but maybe not. Yeah, and I think once you take up the responsibility and accept it, you can kind of open your eyes for the first time. Yeah, for sure. There was a story of, it was, you know, during the Holocaust, there was this awful doctor who would do these test experiments on like children, Jewish children, and many died, obviously, and you know, it wasn't a pretty picture. There was this girl. She and her twin sister were experimented on, and you know, very unpleasant things happened. And I think she's very old now, like, you know, 80, 90 or something. And she found the doctor who did those things. Yeah. And she was looking for the guy, and I think she wrote him a letter or something. And I think she wanted to meet him, or there's a documentary about it. Yeah. But she was able to come to terms with it and forgive him. Yeah. In a way, no longer angling the resentment, which is one of the worst things that ever happened in human history. Right. And she, you know, said something along the lines of like, you know, it's not in his hands, and she forgave him. Yeah. She said the moment she did that and accepted it, she was able to relieve herself of a lot of trauma, right. PTSD stuff, and she got a lot of flack for it because she forgave him. Well, and it's like you're forgiving that person not for them, you're doing it for yourself. Exactly, exactly, and that's what most people didn't get. But
and so humans, animals, everything. There's traumatic experiences like abuse, neglect.
You're literally an Iraqi immigrant.
Yeah.
Right. It's like your family fled Iraq and you were almost executed. Right? You were almost like as a small child, killed. For.
I haven't told that story yet.
Well, I can cut it out if you want to.
No, that's fine.
Do you want to talk about it? Or?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty crazy story. We were in a refugee camp. Well, let me just finish what I was saying on the other thing. It's like, she was able to live life for the first time because she did that. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. It's like, despite the things we had in our lives, you can find a place, and it requires courage and going through a lot of painful processes, but you can breathe and see color for the first time.
Yeah. If
you so choose. Anyway, I'll give you the truncated version of the story. So it was during a desert storm. I was like 2 years old, 2.5, in Iraq. Baghdad was being bombed. A lot of bombs going on. And it was very dangerous for us being there, obviously, because there's bombs falling. But my dad and this was the point that we did have like a privileged situation, because my dad's American. He's half Iraqi, half American. Excuse me. Half American, half white, whatever. His mother was American. And so he's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. And just to get enough gasoline to go from where we were to the refugee camp, where we heard that there's like American soldiers or American camps, for a gallon of gas or a tank of gas was like $1,000 on the black market.
Yeah.
And if people found out, if the Iraqi soldiers found out that, you're trying to get away or escape or whatever, you're kind of going to get shot or something or jailed, whatever. Like, how dare you, whatever. And so it was during Ramadan, so it was like the holy month or towards the end, something like that. And, we had an alibi. My mom's like, well, we have family down south, and that's where the refugee camp was. And we'd always tell, like, apparently that there were checkpoints, and it was my dad driving, and my mom holding 3 kids in the back, me being one of them. And it's very hot, very miserable, very, like, dangerous, because there's a lot of checkpoints.
Yeah.
And we kept saying, oh, we have family down south, and we need to get to them, and it's we haven't heard from them because the electricity's gone. Like Allah khali khalina, which means like let us through for the love of God, kind of thing. And at the checkpoints, they would check whatever luggage you have.
Yeah.
And they're standing there with AK-47s, right? And my dad, our ticket out was, he had an American passport, right? And he hid it inside of a thermos, like in the inside lining. Right. And if they found that, these soldiers, like, according to my parents, like, they would have, I think, taken out the kids, shot all 3 of us, and then killed my parents. Yeah. Something tragic like that. And so at every check, I think there was like 13 checkpoints, and no, it was 13. It was a 13-hour drive, and many checkpoints between. Right. And so at every checkpoint, it was like, all right, this is it, we're done. Right. But we eventually got to, the final checkpoint before the American camp. Apparently it was just like far off in the distance, and we're at this checkpoint. My dad's like, oh, we need gasoline. We heard that the Americans have gasoline. And this Iraqi guy's like, you crazy? You're going to go there? Or something along those lines. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. We really need to get the gas so we can get to my families or whatever. Oh. And so it's just desert, and my dad starts driving towards the camp. Right. And of course, anyone, any military is going to see a car coming. This is a threat. It could be a bomb. It could be, a suicide thing. And so, like, he's halfway there, and they're aiming their M16s at us. Freeze! Stop the car! And they carefully come up to us. Right. And they go to my dad, like, all right, well, what are you doing here? Who are you? And my dad, in perfect American English, says, hi, I'm an American. I'm just trying to get my family safe. Can you let us through? And, like, we're just seeking refuge, seeking asylum. Like, I'm just trying to get home. And the guy's like, what kind of proof do you have? It's like, dude, first of all, he's speaking perfect American English. That should be enough. And my dad's like, I have an American passport. It's in the back. And so, I don't know who went and got it, but, the guy took the passport. He's looking at it. He's looking at my dad. He's looking at the passport, and he says, this is expired.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that doesn't matter. It says USA. That's all,
Right.
And so there was a bit of like back and forth, and then eventually like the guys higher up, lieutenant or something, as you'd say, lieutenant, came out. He's like, "What's going on here?" And then gave the story, and the staff sergeant, whatever he was, was like, "Guys, he's American. Let him through." And so we eventually got into safety. There were a bunch of tents, and we were in the refugee camp, and. I've lost over a lot of details, but whenever my parents tell me the story, it sounds like a Black Hawk Down kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. Well, and again, it's like the tragic thing is I found how common a story like that is.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And Syria is happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that makes me incredibly thankful for the stuff that we do have.
We're so lucky.
Even just like, we were at that steak. So we went, we went to a steak place, and Ahmed ordered a steak. It was like $25 or something.
So sad.
Kind of an expensive steak. And
oh my God.
And it was like the size of it was like this big or something. It was pathetic. It was like a little hockey puck.
And I wanted it medium rare, and it was like well done.
It was like black on the inside,
dude.
essentially. And we were talking about how shitty this place is, and then I think I said, I hope I didn't.
It's a good problem to have.
Well, I did. I hope I didn't come across as like an asshole, but I was
no.
The fact that we can complain about the food that we're getting is like a miracle. Like, we can get this steak. We don't have to worry about anything. It's like, if we're ever not thankful for the fact that we can get a horrible steak in the middle of Ohio, then there's something wrong with us.
Right.
Because even that, it's like that's the worst steak that's edible is better than.
Oh yeah. Well, because we stayed in the refugee camp for I think 30 days, and the whole time, my mom's there with her 3 kids, and my dad's trying to negotiate with the comms, like, hey, we just need a way back. Can you fly us to Germany? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
And my mom's freaking out, and she's saying like, let's just go back. Let's go back to Baghdad. We'll be fine. We'll make it. We have a home there. At least it's we have a comfortable place to sleep, and we stuck. My dad decided that no, we're going to stick through it. And then we started hearing rumors that Saddam Hussein was sending in spies in places like that, abducting people and taking them back for torture. Like you left. How dare you? You're going to suffer the consequences. And Saddam is an awful human being.
Yeah.
We eventually. I have a few memories though from that. Like, me and my brother would, they'd give us like plastic sporks to like eat rations and stuff, and the American tanks would go by, and they'd wave at us, sometimes give us candy, and me and my brother would take the sporks and take a rock and try to fling it at them, and they just laugh at us. And
that's awesome.
There were a couple other memories of like remembering the dust being kicked up in when a helicopter would take off, and we'd have like, we're going to go in the garage or whatever, and it would close, or whatever that was, the hangar bay. I don't really think about that very much.
Well, I think it's part of your story. It's part of who you are, and again, it's like. You have had this roller coaster of a journey getting to where you're at right now. And, I think, again, going back to all the art stuff in general, it's like your path to being here is completely nonlinear. It's like it's actually the fact that you're even here is a miracle.
I'm very grateful.
And obviously, I'd imagine you have a good relationship with your parents and stuff, but.
We do now.
Yeah, right.
Somewhat.
Well, but it's also like, like being able to find meaning and a personality and all that kind of stuff in spite of almost being executed by the government that you're born in, the country that you're born in, is like a perfect example of like being able to find and create meaning in a life out of almost nothing, you know. It's like anyone that's listening to this that might be like depressed, or you know, maybe they're just like kind of lost. It's like, you know, the thing that I've heard a lot of people say is like, when society tells you that you're okay, but you feel like fundamentally you're not, it like can make you angry almost.
Of course.
You know, it's like maybe, you know, you are being told you're a good enough artist, but no one's hiring you, you know?
Which is so frustrating.
It's the worst, right? And it's like, obviously that's
who's lying to me? Tell me.
Yeah, and it's like, it's almost like they're just like trying to protect you, or, you know, but not really. They're not actually helping you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that like facing the truth is always, it's always worth it. You know, it's always worth the pain, because like the truth of your situation in Baghdad might have been like, oh, we have this place that we can be comfortable, but maybe not really. You know, it's like that actually might not have been the comfortable. Like that was the immediate comfortable truth, but the long comfortable truth.
Yeah, we would not be.
Yeah.
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 Good stuff, though.
Yeah.
We made it.
It's serious. Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. But part of like, you know, my experience and witnessing, I don't remember too much of that, but like, you know, I've seen this with most Arab families or immigrant families. There's a lot of trauma that we bring with us.
Yeah.
And it's generational trauma, whether it's from war or abuse or alcoholism or something. But, you know, for me, it's kind of made me a bit of an empath, where I'm like trying to understand how people feel so I can find a way to help them. I think that's like a big factor in like, you know, the stuff I do. For the longest time, it was mostly ego-driven. Like, I want to have a YouTube channel so I could be financially independent, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But then I would sneak in things like, you know, I'm struggling too. I have art. I have art envy. I'm jealous of this art, and I go to ArtStation, and blah, blah, blah. And the purpose is to show a bit of authenticity to help people realize, A, I'm not some kind of god or demigod. I'm just another person just like them. And you can just feel relieved that you're not the only one feeling this, you know.
Yeah, and people can get to where you're at.
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think drawing and painting is actually really easy. You know, it's like the fun of like.
It's just mileage.
Yeah, it's just mileage. You just draw until you're good. You know? And it's like.
With, you know, instruction.
Yeah. Well, and guidance, and you know. And
this video is sponsored by Med's Map.
Med's Map. Yeah, buy it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. But not really. But it's like if you have, you know, proper guidance and you know what you're doing, you can figure out how to draw and paint pretty easily.
Well, it's like engineering. You know, you can figure out how to build something, but then it's like, what do you build with it afterwards?
It's really complicated.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Yeah. It's like, what do you build with all these tools you have?
There's a certain comfort in a studio where it's like, oh, we need this built. Okay, cool. It's easy. I'll draw that and I'll paint that. No problem.
Right.
But outside of it, yeah, then begins the question of why, which was what we started talking about at the beginning of this
Well,
pod.
Why would anyone paint? It's like, again, it's there's a tremendous amount of meaning you can find in anything around you. You know, you very easily could have been just like a musician, or you know, or an engineer, or you know, and none of those would have been the wrong path. You know, necessarily. It's like
Right.
And yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, a lot of it just requires a certain introspection, but also vulnerability, which is very, very hard for me. And like, I think of it this way: it's like when you're born, you're literally vulnerable in every way possible.
Yeah.
You're dependent on people because you're unsafe. You can't take care of yourself. You need food. Your mode of communication is crying so that you can get what you need.
Right.
And you're very vulnerable, and it's not a pleasant place to be. It's very traumatic.
Yeah.
And as you start to develop sources of comfort, then you go there, because that comfort lets you turn off that vulnerability. It's let's remedy the discomfort with this comfort.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's your parents being there for you, or
video games,
whatever. And you develop those for a long time. The question is, at a certain point as an adult, or, you know, teenager or something, can you learn to remove those discomforts so you can find your way back to that vulnerability, which is very uncomfortable.
Where you grow, right?
That's where you grow.
Yeah.
And that's where you discover things about yourself, and you weep and you cry and you feel alone. But like the courage required to go back to do that is immense.
Right. Well, and it's like it could be as simple as walking outside.
Yeah.
Maybe again, we're talking about the idea you don't have to go that far to go on an adventure. Maybe it's like just the act of going to the convenience store and talking to the cashier is a tremendous feat of bravery for somebody.
Right.
And I'm not saying, like, I'm driving around the country by myself in a van, and I don't think that's any better or any
it's
higher.
Not a contest.
Yeah, it's not a contest, and it's not higher than the person that's going and, like, doing something that might seem mundane,
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, for you've come quite a long way in terms of, like, social anxiety when you said that you were so anxious at a point when you were younger where you couldn't even answer the door to get the pizza that your parents ordered for you.
Yeah, and like when I was 16, 17 years old. Not
which is
that long
late.
ago. Yeah, right.
And so for you, it was an immense adventure to go and get the pizza or talk to the cashier. And I think it's relative, like, to people listening, like wherever you are, whatever's in front of you is your adventure. Don't look at somebody who's on a higher part of the mountain or a mountain that's so far away and say, well, since I'm not that, my adventure is worthless, it's pointless, I'm going to stay here and play games. Which games are great.
That could also be your adventure too.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's that's part of all this stuff. I think that success is completely subjective. It's like, are you a failure because you're not a lawyer? It's like somebody would say so, yes,
right.
But by another person's
you got a whole swirl of flies around you.
But by somebody else's definition of success, you're the most successful artist of all time. And it's like, who do you listen to? And the answer is neither.
Yeah.
You listen to yourself.
Because we all die in the end, and no one's with you when you're dead.
Yeah. It's,
as grim as that sounds.
Well, again, I don't know. It's acknowledging that we're all going to die is a really difficult, scary thing. Where, like, your life is going to end at some point. It's not. That's not like. Sorry. Oops. Oh, there was something Steve-O said.
Steve-O, the Jackass guy?
No, the philosopher Steve-O.
Oh, sure.
The great American philosopher Steve-O from Jackass. He was saying,
with the high pitched voice and everything.
Well, life is like a joke because the only instinct that we have, the strongest instinct that we have, is not to die, right?
Sure.
But the only guarantee that we have is that we're going to die.
The irony.
So it's like this. You're already started out with this horrible irony of just like, like if we were to be falling off a cliff and we were for sure going to die, we'd feel horrible. We'd be extremely scared, and thinking about all the things we wish we could have done and stuff. But like the fact that we don't feel like that all the time is strange because it's just like it's you're either dying in 6 seconds or 30 years or 10 minutes or
Right.
The answer is the same, and like being able to be a fully realized person knowing that you're going to die, and also I think for me, I haven't completely come to terms with my own death either, but for me, having a better idea of my mortality is like enabled me to like be more confident in the decisions that I make about what I'm choosing to spend my time doing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's like I could be pursuing being an executive at a big company right now, like an entertainment company, and probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But this is more meaningful to me, living in a van, talking to guys like you, than.
Thank you, by the way.
No, but I'm telling. I hope I'm telling the truth. But
no.
And it's like, like this is actually more meaningful because when you look at the amount of time you have left on the planet, it's like you're in your almost mid-30s now, and if you die when you're 50 years from now, right? It's like, so you die in 50 years, so you theoretically have 50 years of time, but not really because
you sleep a lot.
So you cut that down straight down the middle, so you 25. Have 25 years of time. But then how much time are you spending just like doing other things,
right.
And it's like
people pleasing.
Yeah, well, and it's like maybe when you look at it, if you have 25 years left, you have like of conscious time, you have like 250 months or something, or 300 months or 400 months or something, depending on how old you are, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not that much time. It's like for every month every 4 months, if you're going to live another 400 months, that's 1%, you know? And it's like, that is a finite amount of time, you know?
As far as we know.
Well, I guess, the afterlife stuff is like, I'm not sure if I believe in, you know.
No, I mean, like longevity.
Okay,
and
right, okay, yeah.
Whatever technology gives us. Afterlife stuff, you know, the different philosophies, different religious beliefs have their ideas on it. The understanding that we have in Islam is that you start off in a state of death, and then you're born, and you return to that.
Yeah.
And then you are somehow born again in a different dimension or something, which we don't have details of. And then you hear the same concept with, like, people who have psychedelic experiences. It's like, you know, they go there and they're saying, oh, right, I've been here before. Oh, right, this is what death was like. Okay, and oh, right, this life's a joke kind of thing. Let me do my best in this world in my way, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to, but how do you relate that to art? It's like...
Well, I think that's the only question that we're all, like, I remember Stan said something to me where it's like, the only thing anyone is ever doing is distracting themselves from the fact that they're going to die. Because you have to spend your time doing something, you know? And whether it's like hero worshiping or building something or driving cars or playing golf or something, you're just like trying to spend the time that you're given in a way that you see, you know? And the way with art, it's like you're communicating ideas. Like, the thing I see about concept art is that people are like, whether they know it or not, they're trying to communicate the ideas of like the ideal person. Whether it's like, if you're drawing monsters, you're creating things that will contrast characters that are heroic to make them seem that much more heroic. You know, or if you're you're creating heroic characters, so you're like trying to see yourself in a sense as that heroic creature, as a heroic thing, you know.
Right.
And it's like, there is nobility in life, and I was telling you before, it's like this trip is, again, I don't know entirely what I mean by this, but this trip has confirmed my belief in God, you know. It's like...
something greater than yourself that's out there.
Yeah.
That you don't know what it is.
For sure. It's like, I can't reasonably go around the country and experience so much kindness and help from people and so much like meaning that I can't look at that and be like, there's nothing there, you know. This is all meaningless. It's like I was reading in a book that just by the nature of us having eyes, it's like to not have eyes means that there's no meaning, and to say that there isn't meaning, even though we are able to sense, like the default should be nothing, right? The default should be like,
and by eyes it could also mean ears and taste
like senses, right? It's like, if you look at, you know, this and say this is meaningless, you're missing the point, because you're seeing beautiful light and water, and you could swim in there, you can get fish from there, you can like get fish to, you know, feed your family or to like feed yourself or, you know, to have fun. And
we were hiking. You said something really interesting that I kept thinking about, but I forgot how you worded it, but something about we tend to be so focused on the future that we're unwilling to live in the now. Definitely strikes true, because like once, like for a split second there, I was able to be in the present. Right. When you said that, I'm like, oh right, oh wow, you know. But then like my mind kicked back up and like started thinking about things. And
well, I think I might have said, was it in the cave?
No, it was. I think it was. Yeah, it was from the cave hike. Yeah. But it was like on
the way back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it might have been in the cave. Yeah.
Well, I think I might have said something like, I could spend my entire life looking at this one.
Yeah. View.
And again, I was reading Sam Harris's book, Waking Up, and he was saying that enlightenment or feeling present is not it's not a constant state of mind. It's something that you have to earn. It's something you have to be like, something that you have to be thinking about all the time, because no matter how much money or success you have, that's the thing that's hard to get to. It's just like getting outside yourself. And I think having money and power and all that kind of stuff, once you have those needs fulfilled, it's easier to let go of. It's like, oh, I have this, I don't have to worry about it.
Right. it's part of the burden, but not the whole thing.
Well, and I think it's that's like the value of having money is that you don't have to worry about eating. You know?
Right, freedom,
like,
yeah.
You're able to like be more present more of the time because you're not worried about like where am I going to sleep tonight? Where am I going to get water? Where am I going to, you know, and like I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like driving around and listening to music in my car is something I really enjoy doing. Like listening to music really loudly. And,
right on.
You know, and it doesn't get much better with a nicer car, you know?
right.
It's like, this is it. This is the peak experience. And it's like, I can get better speakers, sure. You know, I can be driving faster. I mean, I drive at the speed limit. But, you know, it's like, I could be like having a Ferrari or a Tesla or, you know, a badass van wouldn't make it better. It wouldn't make my perceptions better, you know? What is limiting me fundamentally is just like, I might be driving around and listening to my favorite songs of all time in a beautiful environment, but I'm thinking about like money. I'm thinking about like relationships. I'm thinking about like a girl that I'm really interested in and hoping that she likes me back. And it's like, and I think that's like I'm losing the point. I'm thinking about all the things I want versus all the things that I have. You know?
Yes, and it's so hard to recenter towards to the present. Because the neocortex mixed with the monkey brain is like trying to survive. And it simulates all potential different outcomes of all these things, and it scares you to death with it.
Right.
And how could you be present and enjoy like this sunset here, if you're worried about, you know, getting a job or the girlfriend or, you know, food. Those are very standard problems. Like I don't have to worry about having cancer or I have all my limbs. You know, I'm like I'm like healthy. You know, and again, I really admire people who are able to like find meaning in what they do in spite of not having like maybe even a complete body. You know, it's like maybe they're missing. You know, maybe they're paralyzed or something, and there's something like incredibly beautiful about somebody who paints in spite, like they paint with their feet. I've seen that. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, I wouldn't do that if I was in their position. You know, like I would have given up probably. You know, and sure I would have found meaning in something else, but it's also like that's fucking hard. You know.
Right. Is that the time that's been recording?
What?
2,300
hours. I'll check that.
Oh, okay. I was just curious how long we've been going for.
I'll check. About an hour and 18 minutes.
How long do you want to go for?
Maybe like an hour and a half or so.
Sure.
12 more minutes. I appreciate this.
Yeah,
talk.
For sure. Yeah, I could do this very often if you want.
Next time I'm in Ohio.
Yeah, or if I'm in, wherever.
Yeah, dude.
Berlin, Scotland, wherever you are in the world.
Oh, yeah.
No, but yeah, it's. I had a thought about when you mentioned, the person without limbs still finds a way to paint with their feet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, something else that comes with that. I mean, by all means, that's great. I'm not diminishing it, but you have like the American Idol stage where people go up there and things like that are heavily praised, and like it creates this illusion that in order to be celebrated by everybody, I have to have some kind of
deficiency. Apparent deficiency.
Yeah, and if it's not, then I'm not as good as an artist.
Right.
Not as good of an artist.
Or valid or something.
Or valid, yeah. It's like, well, what's your story? What, you still have your arms? Well, you kind of, come on, get with the program.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the golden buzzer,
Right.
And I've seen amazing things like with people who have disabilities. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but for people who think that they're supposed to have some kind of, Victim Olympics thing just to compete. It's like, just express yourself, And this is advice I'm giving to myself that I need to hear.
Yeah. Well,
most of my advice is that.
Well, yeah, me too. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm saying I'm repeating things I need to hear.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's tempting to want to do the Victim Olympics because then it gives you an excuse for not being as good as you could be.
Right. Right.
It's like,
the dragon's out there.
the dragon is out there. You need to be more than what you are.
Be decimated.
Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
It's not particularly an easy problem.
The hierarchy, the dominance hierarchy.
Lobsters. This duck has been judging us this whole time.
Yeah, maybe that's God. Maybe God is right there.
Well, I mean, yeah.
The only thing that I know for sure, besides I'm going to die, is I'm kind of an idiot. You know?
Oh, we all,
kind of a moron.
Yeah. It's funny, Stephen and myself came to a similar conclusion. We had we'll call it an intellectual podcast conversation, and towards the end I'm like, are we just pretentious morons? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm absolutely a pretentious
100%.
moron. Totally.
Like, get with the program.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. It's all a joke, yo. but there's seriousness, obviously.
Oh yeah, well I think it's like, I'm totally fine calling myself an idiot, because it's like, I know that I'm, like, I could be wrong about everything I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I reserve the right to be an idiot. You know? It's like,
play the fool.
Yeah, and it's like, I might be completely wrong, and if somebody disagrees with me fundamentally with what I'm saying, I want to hear it.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I want to figure out, it's like, okay, maybe you're right, you know?
Yeah, like, put your information on the table, let's compare notes and see what's up.
Yeah. And that's been something about the podcast that I'm very, like, excited for, is, like, being wrong, you know? I mean, I'm not excited about it in terms of, like, someone calling me an idiot, but it's like, I'm excited in the sense where it gives me problems to solve. Like,
sure.
It gives me books to read, gives me, like, a meaning to pursue, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, the meaning that you're pursuing, I've spent the last 3-4 days with you.
Yeah.
Just having conversations. I think you're meant for this, because, like,
Oh, thanks.
Already my paradigm is shifting and thinking about things differently. And you said Scott had a similar outlook on.
I'm not taking any credit.
I know, but he said it.
Yeah.
How you helped him make certain decisions that changed his direction, and I can see that, like, you having a profound impact on certain things, because like what you're saying is things I've thought before, right? But, like, seeing it, I guess, echo from another person in a different way is really nice.
I'm trying to, like, the thing that there's something that Socrates said, where everything that you know is, like, everything that you learn is something that you've already known before, you know? And it's like, the thing that I'm doing is I'm just trying, like...
shedding light.
Well, I'm trying to, like, live my life based on fundamental truths that I believe in, where it's like, you know, like, whether you want to call it Muhammad or Jesus or, like, Luke Skywalker or Aragorn or something, I'm trying to live my life in those ideals, where I'm trying to, like, I live a very minimalistic lifestyle. Like, everything in this van, like, this is everything I own.
Right.
You know, I own some drawings at Stan's studio, but this is, like, you know, I'm trying to live in the way that, like, a holy person would live. I'm not calling myself a holy person. I'm trying to emulate them to the best of my ability.
Sure.
You know, and it's like, I think that's part of the reason. Like, people have been telling me the same things, and I'm not taking any credit for it. I'm just, like, in a sense, like, saying and doing things that are, like, in a religious sense that God is telling me to do, you know?
Okay. In a way, like, letting a sort of external intuition come through you, almost like a muse. And
yeah, and it's like, if I go and sleep in a Walmart parking lot in the middle of North Dakota, I'm going to be okay. You know, it's like,
or maybe not.
Well, and maybe not, but it's like, mostly it's never
right.
still here. You know,
True,
it's like,
true.
Nothing bad has happened yet, and it's like, it's trying to, like, take baby steps towards, like, you know, maybe if I, you know, go to, like, Colombia, or maybe if I go to North Korea, or maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. You know.
I had a friend who went to Colombia and lived there for like a year, and it's like said just that, yeah. Yeah,
and it's you know, we were having a debate last night about this, where it's like I think it's dangerous to be a pessimist, and people want to be pessimists because it keeps them safe, but the danger in that is you stop seeing as much meaning in the world.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And some people go their whole lives doing that, and they, you know, never see things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the duck.
No, there's just the rowing team.
Is that good?
I was gonna say, right. Like, you have a lot to offer, and I think I talked about this idea, but you should offer conversations with people and like as a consultation, like open up slots and people can pay you, because I would totally pay to bounce ideas off of you.
Yeah.
And
Well, if anyone listening wants to talk to me about it,
reach out.
yeah, reach out to me, because
$1,000 an hour.
Yeah, $1 million a second. My time is more valuable than anything you could possibly imagine.
Right. All right. Well, these flies are killing me. I think we can wrap this up.
Okay. Is there anything you want to talk about? Like,
no.
like maybe a painting course, like, or a map of some sort.
I have no idea what you're. Sure. Yeah. I mean, like, if you're interested in learning how to paint, I've spent the last 20 years, more than 20 years painting, doing art. A good chunk of it doing it professionally, and I'm very good at teaching it. I distill things down very simply in such a way that's understandable. So if you're interested in that, all the courses are online. Once you buy the course, it's yours for a lifetime. So
Nice.
yeah, it's a 15-week, we'll say boot camp, based on my time at Art Center as a student and teaching, going through all the fundamentals that you need to know how to paint.
And if you were to take this class with Ahmed at Art Center for $5,000, he'd be teaching you the same exact thing,
Yeah.
right? Oh.
Yeah, but I think it's better because it's more content that's easy to understand.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, and it's for a fraction of that price.
Yeah.
Thanks for the shout out. And we might be putting it on the Proco site.
Nice.
Where,
Cool.
'cause, yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's what this whole trip was for.
Yeah, that was the entire point. Just to convince
We did it.
you to make money.
God damn it, Stan Prokopenko.
That's the only purpose in life, is to make as much money as possible.
For Stan.
Yeah, for Stan. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah.
that's it though. Yeah, the students are doing really well. They're posting on the community page and on the Meds Map
Yeah.
site. So
Cool. Well,
yeah,
I appreciate you doing this, man.
yeah, for sure. Let's do it again. No, you have to explode on impact.
Here, wait.
Dude, that's starting to hurt.
I was actually going to punch you.
No, dude. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, Christian. Pulling us in. It's the maelstrom.